If I didn't reach out, I don't know if I would still be here because I was in such a dark place.
Looking at TrinaMarie Shaw, you would never know she struggled with depression. She is currently United States of America's Mrs. Nevada 2022 and is about to compete for the national title. Her platform, mental health, and ending the stigma behind the struggle. She has a mental health blog called Sparkle, Turning Darkness into Light.
Most people are not going to say, hey, I need help, because that's saying I can't handle this. And so that might affect my career growth, my promotional opportunities, right? That might affect me getting any other type of opportunity that comes. They start to look at you like, oh, I thought you had it all together. Oh, maybe you don't.
Shaw wonders if Miss USA 2019 Cheslie Kryst was having these same thoughts, but we may never know what Kryst was dealing with internally. Authorities say Kryst took her life at the end of January.
I just started bawling. You know, I didn't know her personally, but she was such an inspiration, and she is the reason why I go so hard. You didn't see it. It just came out of nowhere, and you see like, oh, she has this great, awesome life. And I know, you only put what you want on social media, but you still didn't think it was, to the point that she didn't want to be here anymore.
According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, there are on average 130 suicides in the U.S. every day. Nevada numbers put us in the top 10. Taryn Hyatt, who is the area director for AFSP's Nevada chapter, reminds everyone that this is a preventable form of death.
This is a health issue. That's a health crisis. That means it's time for you to tell somebody you trust, reach out to a trusted friend, a doctor, seek medical advice. Because for us, when we're in that space of suicidal thinking, I've been there, it's not necessarily about that we want to die. It's that we don't know how to live with something that's happening in our experience. And we need to invite somebody else in to get us the appropriate help and care that we need.
Hyatt says 90% of people who have attempted suicide go on to live full, meaningful lives because recovery is possible. But the stigma within ourselves and certain communities create additional barriers, especially in minority communities who continually deal with discrimination and racism.
A lot of Black women, we have this burden that we put on our shoulders where we feel like we have to be strong all the time. And we were kind of raised that way too, though. Just the way society is, we were just, we have to be resilient. And in order to get whatever you want to accomplish out of life, you just keep pushing forward no matter what.
Shaw says oftentimes the strong ones are ignored, with people assuming they can handle whatever life throws at them.
Just because you're strong don't mean that you don't need a shoulder to cry on or a shoulder to lean on or someone to lift their, take their hand and lift you up out of whatever the situation is.
Thankfully, in her darkest moment, she reached out in the form of a text message to a friend asking for prayer. She immediately got words of encouragement that lifted her up and got her journaling. It's been her outlet ever since. As Mrs. Nevada, she also works a lot with youth and passes out these notebooks to kids, making sure they have an outlet to write their feelings down if they want. But how do you know when to reach out if a person seems okay?
We tell people to trust your gut, seize that awkward moment, because if you're thinking it, you're most likely right. And what we find is most people want to talk about whatever it is that's going on with them. And if they are struggling, they'll be relieved to know that somebody noticed and somebody cared enough to ask and give them permission to talk about whatever's happening.
If you're dealing with a mental health issue, it's important to acknowledge your feelings and remember you are not alone. Aside from reaching out to someone you trust or checking in on a friend, you can also limit your intake of news. Try planning activities that make you feel good mentally and physically, like a hobby or exercise. Also, never be afraid to reach out to a medical professional when needed. As for social media and its link to mental health, remember it's never what it seems. You never know what someone's internal struggle is. A smile on the outside doesn't always equate to happiness on the inside. TrinaMarie is hopeful her message of ending the stigma will continue to grow. No one should suffer in silence.
In order for people to ask for help, we have to change the perceptions.
If you need to reach out for help, you can always call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255, or you can text them by texting TALK to 741-741.